Welcome to the Fanspeak Network. I'm your host, Megan Shoup. You can follow me on Twitter at Megs08DFS. And today we are talking Underdog Pick'ems for week one. That's right, Underdog Fantasy is a super fun site that allows you to do very fun pick'em contests where you can choose higher or lower on a player's statistic. So it could be for a quarterback, their passing yards or touchdowns or interceptions or attempts. It has various statistics you can choose from. You could choose higher or lower. And of course, you can then put them together for an entry. And we'll go over and I'll show you how you can do that. So then you can either get 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the entry. And then you can also now get insurance. So that way, if you miss just one of those, you can still get some money back or still make a profit, which is super exciting and a new feature for Underdog. So definitely check it out. But before you go and set up these pick'ems, be sure to get on Underdog, sign up with code Fanspeak. That's code Fanspeak, and it gets you 100% deposit bonus up to $100. So if you deposit $100, you get $100. That's $200 to play these super fun pick'em contests. And they still have different, drafts and everything and other contests throughout the year. So there's plenty to do on Underdog Fantasy. Be sure to use code Fanspeak and get yourself that deposit bonus. But now let's talk week one pick'ems and what we put together. So my brother Steve put together a 5 pick'em. And so I'm going to head over to Underdog right now and take a look at his slip. Okay, so on his slip, he starts with Mark Andrews lower. I know that sounds crazy. Well, first of all, let me show you how the slip works. So again, if you have 2, you can get 3 times. 2 players, you can get 3 times. 3 players, 6 times. 4 players, 10 times. And 5 players, 20 times. And then you can opt in for insurance or not. So that's a really new fun feature. So that's kind of how it works, again, after you sign up with that code Fanspeak. But now let's jump into the slip that Steve put together for week one. And let's start with Mark Andrews. And he went lower, 69.5 receiving yards. And I know that probably seems crazy to a lot of people because Mark Andrews had such an amazing year last year. But first of all, he was playing with some backup quarterbacks that were kind of using him as like a safety blanket targets. And with Lamar back, I think he's still going to get a huge target share. But I think the bigger concern is the game against the Jets that might be slower pace. The Ravens might be obviously playing from well ahead. And the concern there is the targets and the yards may not be needed as much as a more competitive game environment. So I think that's why we're going lower on 69.5 receiving yards. Now let's move over to the Vegas Raiders. And we have 2 that we like for the Raiders, both Hunter Renfrow, 51.5 receiving yards higher, and quarterback Derek Carr, 267.5 passing yards higher. Now, the reason we like this so much is this game environment could spell shootout. I think a lot of AFC West games this year are going to be shootouts, quite honestly, because these offenses are just like packed with studs and stars. And I think it's just going to be shootout city this season. But we're starting it off with the Chargers and the Raiders. And, I think to match up against Justin Herbert and the Chargers, they are going to have to put up points. And I think Carr is going to be throwing a lot. So I really think he could get to his number here easily. Also, you have to remember Carr has that additional weapon now with Devontae Adams. So that's huge too. But that doesn't minimize Renfro's total of 51.5. I think this is very attainable because I think between Renfro and Darren Waller and Devontae Adams, that'll make up for, Derek Carr going over 267.5 passing yards. And again, I think he's going to need it. Also, the Chargers are going to be without cornerback J.C. Jackson. So that's a big loss for them. So those are why we like the higher on the Raiders, guys. Now we're going to go over to 2 other lower slips. First, we have Jalen Hurts and quarterback Jalen Hurts for the Eagles. I know he's everybody's kind of darling, seems to be like this summer. And both my brother Steve and I are kind of down on Hurts and kind of fading the public, both from a, best ball as we were drafting this summer to pick 'em and sport bets week one and these pick 'em slips week one. And quite honestly, in daily fantasy week one, I don't think Justin Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. And I don't think the addition of A.J. Brown is going to make him a good quarterback. He got most of his fantasy production last year on the ground. And this is a passing statistic. It's 232.5 passing yards. He only surpassed that just 5 times last year. And I know you think, well, with the addition of A.J. Brown, maybe they'll throw a lot more. Well, they have a really good defense, really good offensive line, and very capable running backs in a running game. And he himself, obviously, we know, can take off and run. So I just don't know that we are, just because of the addition of A.J. Brown, going to see all of a sudden this high pass rate over expectation volume that's going to allow him to get to 233 yards. And again, I don't trust Jalen Hurts' efficiency as a quarterback. So that's why we took the lower 232.5 passing yards. Then we have Marvin Jones for the Jaguars, 42.5 receiving yards. We took lower. Jones is now basically the third option. Christian Kirk is going to be obviously the number one. And I do think that, Trevor Lawrence is going to need to be throwing against Washington. And I do think he can have some success. But I think Jones being the third option really makes this line a little nerve-wracking to want to take the higher, because, how many targets is he really going to get in this offense? And so we took the lower of 42.5. So let me go back over. What do you think of our higher, lower on Underdog Fantasy this week? What are you doing with your week one slips, week one entries on Underdog? Leave a comment and let us know what you think. And again, before you get out of here, be sure to like this episode, subscribe to the Fanspeak Network, and tell a friend, because we were just getting the Fanspeak Network started, and we're going to have these Underdog Pick'em shows every week. We're going to have tons of other daily fantasy and sports betting content every week. So be sure to subscribe and check us out every week. And again, if you're not an Underdog yet, please use code Fanspeak, get that deposit bonus, and do these pick'ems with us, and let us know how you're doing. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.